How horror games use atmosphere to create tension. 1. Lighting and shadows. Lighting plays a crucial role in horror games, often using dim or flickering lights to create a sense of unease. Shadows can obscure details and create jump scares, making players constantly on edge. Games like Silent Hill and Amnesia: The Dark Descent use lighting to build a foreboding atmosphere and heighten suspense. 2. Sound design. Sound design is essential in horror games for creating tension. Ambient noises, eerie sound effects, and unsettling music contribute to the atmosphere. Sudden, unexpected sounds can induce fear and surprise, while a haunting score builds dread. Games such as Outlast and Resident Evil use sound to amplify the feeling of paranoia and vulnerability. 3. Visual style and art direction. The visual style of a horror game can significantly impact its atmosphere. Distorted, grim, or surreal visuals contribute to a sense of unease and disorientation. The art direction often employs a dark color palette and unsettling imagery to create a nightmarish environment, as seen in games like Bloodborne and Layers of Fear. 4. Environmental design. The design of the game environment adds to the tension by creating oppressive or claustrophobic spaces. Abandoned buildings, eerie forests, and decrepit locations can evoke a sense of isolation and fear. Games like The Evil Within and PT use environment design to immerse players in a terrifying world that feels alive and hostile. 5. Psychological horror. Psychological horror focuses on unsettling themes and disturbing scenarios rather than relying on gore or jump scares. This approach builds tension through narrative, character development, and mind-bending experiences. Games like Silent Hill 2 and Soma use psychological horror to explore deep fears and anxieties, creating a more profound sense of dread. 6. Isolation and vulnerability. Horror games often place players in situations where they feel isolated and vulnerable. Limited resources, such as ammunition or health, and a lack of powerful tools heighten the sense of helplessness. Games like Dead Space and Alien Isolation use isolation to intensify fear and make players feel constantly at risk. 7. Unpredictability and random events. Unpredictable events and random encounters keep players on their toes. Unexpected threats or changes in the environment can create a sense of uncertainty and fear. Games such as Resident Evil 7 and The Forest use randomness to keep players unsettled and anxious about what might happen next. 8. Narrative and backstory. A compelling and eerie narrative adds depth to the horror experience. The backstory of the game world, along with its characters and lore, contributes to the overall atmosphere. Games like Alan Wake and The Last of Us use narrative elements to weave a haunting story that enhances the feeling of dread and immersion. 9. Interactive elements. Interactivity can amplify tension by making players actively engage with the horror elements. Tasks such as solving puzzles or exploring dangerous areas while under threat heighten the sense of involvement and fear. Games like Outlast and Until Dawn incorporate interactive elements to keep players engaged and on edge. 10. Psychological effects. Horror games often employ psychological tactics to affect players' emotions and perceptions. Techniques like unreliable narrators, hallucinations, and distorted realities can disorient and disturb players. Games like Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice and Control use psychological effects to immerse players in a surreal and unsettling experience.